All right, everybody, it is time for social studies today. So I need you to sit up straight, put your listening ears on, ask and answer questions in our Zoom meetings. N is nod your head while I'm talking, and T is track the speaker. Let's slant, everybody. So today for social studies, we are going to be talking about firsthand and secondary, primary and secondary sources, because Tuesday and Wednesday you're going to be doing a research project over the different regions in Texas, and you need to know the difference between a firsthand or a primary source and a secondhand and a secondary source. So when you're looking on the internet or in an encyclopedia or in a book or a textbook, you're going to come across two different types of sources. So a first-hand account and a second-hand account, or a primary and a secondary source, are the two that we're going to talk about today. So that just means that there are multiple accounts of the same event. So if it's first-hand, that's called a primary source. This is a description of an event that comes from someone who was there to see or experience it. It's like if I was to tell you about the time I got married. If I was to tell you the story about the time that I got married, that would be a first-hand or a primary source because you're hearing it directly from me. It's a first-hand account, and so that's first-person point of view, because we know, we've been taught this in reading, that a first-person point of view includes the words I, me, and includes any of those first-person pronouns. So you're going to see stuff online that are like letters, emails, diaries, journals, interviews, speeches, autobiographies. Those are all things that are written as that are primary sources. That means the person is telling the story about themselves. So if you were to tell me a story about the time your dog ran away, that would be a primary source because you were actually there and you actually saw it and experienced it. So this might include personal opinions, it might include emotions or feelings, and very specific details because the person was actually there. So that's a first-hand or a primary source. But a second-hand or secondary source, a second-hand account is also called a secondary source. It's a description of an event based on research. So it's written or told by someone that was not at the event. So if you told me about the time your dog went away, and then I went home and I told Mr. Simpson, I would be a second-hand account. I would be a secondary source because I wasn't there to see your dog run away, but I know the story, so I was able to tell Mr. Simpson what happened. It would also be like my mom or me telling you a story about the time I went to my grandma's house. And then you going home and being like, oh, Mom and Dad, this is so cool. Miss Simpson went to her grandma's house and she made her lasagna or whatever. And that's a secondary source because you told my story. So that is in third person because you're going to use words like they and she and he. And you're going to use a lot of names because it's not your story or it's not their story that they're telling. So that's third person point of view. Those are things like encyclopedias, textbooks. We use those a lot. Biographies, that's when somebody writes a book about someone else. Some newspaper and magazine articles. So a biography or an autobiography is when you write a book about yourself. A biography is when you write a book about someone else. So first-hand would be a biography, and second-hand would be first-hand would be an autobiography, and the second-hand would be a biography. So second-hand includes key facts and information because you can't include emotions and feelings and all of that because you weren't there to begin with. So you're just including key facts and information, and you're also going to have info from several different sources. So when you do a research project, you're going to be looking through all of these sources, and the project that you do is going to be a second-hand account because you weren't there when the regions of Texas were established or when the map makers decide to make regions. So that's going to be a second-hand account, and you're going to look through a lot of things on like Google and Epic to research the regions of Texas, and it's going to be either first-hand, primary, or second-hand, secondary source. So I wanted you to know the difference between the two. So for Tuesday and Wednesday in social studies, you are going to start a research project. So all you have to do today is think about what region in Texas you would like to know more about. So everybody put your hand up like this. Well, your right hand. It would be easier if you did your right hand. And I want you to look at your right hand. Right here on your thumb. This is supposed to look like Texas. A lot of you didn't get this the other day. This is supposed to look like Texas, kind of. So this is going to be your mountains and basins region. This is your Great Plains, your North Central Plains, and then you have your coastal plains. So if I was to cut my hand off like right here, this looks like Texas. So we have the mountains and basins, the Great Plains, the North Central Plains, and the coastal plains. All right, so I want you to pick one of those to do your research project on. That's all you're doing today, is you're going to pick one, and below in the discussion board, you're going to tell me what region you are going to research for your project, and you're going to have Tuesday and Wednesday to complete it, and it's going to be due on Wednesday. All right, you guys, have fun choosing which region you want to know more about. Bye.